Hey, I'm Dave. Welcome to my shop. I'm Dave Plummer, a retired software engineer from Microsoft going back to the MS-DOS and Windows 95 days. And as fans of the channel likely know by now, I'm also the original author of the zip file support in Windows. I'd actually written it as a shareware app, and thanks to a rather complicated story that I will abbreviate as simply Microsoft bought it from me, we've had zip file support since the Windows 98 and NT4 days. Now, to say that support hasn't evolved much in the last 25 years or so would be an understatement. They could almost have shipped it in ROM, it seems. But it's being neglected no longer, as Microsoft has added support for a host of other archive formats like 7-zip, gzip, RAR, and tar. Now you can natively open and browse each of those archives directly in Windows. Let's have a look at the updated support. I'll also stop to show you the new sudo command, and then we'll return here to talk about some more of the features. Okay, here we are on the desktop of 24H2. You'll notice the toolbar is a little different, context menu is a little different, and once you go down actually into the downloads folder, I'll show you the context menu again. You'll see now it has all the items on it, and they are spelled out rather than forcing you to rely on pictograms. If you need to access something on the older menu, you can do the Show More Options route, and that will give you the old context menu. And of course, the classic properties page. Now in my folder, you'll notice that I have 5 different archives: a zip file, a 7-zip file, a gzip file, a RAR file, and a tar file. These are all now natively supported by Windows, at least for browsing and extracting. So let's take a look at going into them. As always, with the zip support that I wrote back in 1994-ish, you can browse down into folders, browse down into a subfolder, grab a file, drag it out. And the classic bug of it not knowing where to put it on the desktop, so defaulting to a default is still the default. I'm surprised I haven't fixed that yet. Now if we double click on an archive file, it will launch and we'll pick which viewer to use. We'll say photos for this one because it's a photo, and you can launch it directly out of the archive. Now I can also copy it back and replace and update the one in the archive. That's something that is specific to zip files, and as you'll see, we can't do that in other formats. So for example, if I browse down into the gzip file, I can drag out of it just fine. Let's see, I'll place it on the desktop. But I can't drag anything back in. I just get the Do Not Drop Here icon. And if we go back up to the Downloads folder, we can browse down into a RAR file. You can see it supports RAR as well. And we can go to the tar file. It has structure, folders within it, and then files within those folders. And just for completeness, we'll browse down into the 7-zip file to make sure that support works as well, which of course it does. Now I'm going to select all of these files. I'm going to right click and pick Compress to New Archive. And I'm going to say now I have choices. I'm going to say tar file. That will compress everything into one big archive, which I will call Big Archive. It should contain all the other archives. We browse down into it. We can see we can browse into a weird archive, like a gzip archive, inside of a tar file. So they got the nested support for archives working, and that's a really nice feature, I think. Next up is the sudo command, which I've always mispronounced as sudo, but it actually stands for superuser do. We'll go to a command prompt, and we'll try it. We'll try something that would require administrative rights, like changing the hibernation status on the power config. And you can see when I type powerconfig/h for hibernate and try to turn it on, I'll get my attempt rejected because it requires administrator privileges. So let's try with the sudo. Same command, /h on. And we're denied because this is not a default feature, so we have to go turn it on. We'll do that in settings, where we'll go to the developer settings. I'll type dev into here. Whoops, if I spell it right, developer. There we go, developer settings. And we can see there are a host of options here. One recent feature in here is the addition of endtask as a menu item when you right-click on a tray element, which represents an app. So we'll turn that on. And we've got to find enable sudo. Where is it? Not under File Explorer? No, it's just straight down. And to turn on sudo, we'll require our administrative rights, so we'll do that. And now when we go back to the console, we should be able to repeat the command. And this time, instead of failing, we get a UAC prompt, and the command succeeds. If we try it again right away, we see we also get another prompt. So unlike Linux, where you have sort of a grace period in between sudo commands, with Windows it looks like you get a prompt for every command. Now, in addition to expanded archive support, Windows 24H2 brings several new features and improvements that build on the foundations of previous Windows versions while introducing new functionality. One of the features in this update is Windows Copilot, an AI-driven assistant designed to work seamlessly across applications. Copilot is intended to bring deep integration with Microsoft 365 apps and offers contextual suggestions based on what you're working on. They're saying it can streamline workflows, provide writing assistance, or even generate content in your apps like Word, Excel, and Outlook, making productivity smoother than ever. I don't have a Copilot Plus PC, so that's where that adventure ends for me. Another significant feature is enhanced virtual desktops, which now allow for even more customization. Users can assign specific wallpapers and settings to individual desktops, creating distinct environments for work, personal tasks, or gaming. This feature takes multitasking to the next level, making it easier to switch between different projects without losing focus or cluttering up your workspace. Windows 24 H2 also includes improvements in security with the introduction of Windows Vault. This is like a centralized encrypted storage solution for passwords, keys, and all your sensitive data. It integrates tightly with Windows Hello and the biometric authentication if you have that, ensuring that your data remains secure and easily accessible only to authorized users. Now, in terms of gaming, Windows 24 H2 introduces Direct Storage 2.0, which brings even faster game load times and in-game performance. By offloading much of the work to the GPU, Direct Storage 2.0 reduces the burden on the CPU, enabling better frame rates and smoother gameplay. Basically, your GPU is able to stream directly from the SSD into GPU memory, bypassing the CPU. This technology is a significant leap forward for gamers who demand peak performance from their systems. And finally, there's a focus on sustainability with Eco Mode. This feature allows users to optimize power consumption across their devices, automatically adjusting settings based on usage patterns to conserve energy. Eco Mode is probably mostly useful for laptop users, extending battery life without compromising the performance. Let me know what you think about these changes in the comments below, whether it's enough to justify a whole point release, and as always, don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives on the latest tech. If you like this briefer format, let me know by leaving a like on the video. Check out Shop Talk on the Dave's Attic channel for the best answers to the viewer questions. And in the meantime and in between time, hope to see you next time, right here in Dave's Garage.